Welcome back to AI for the Humanities. I'm Meghan McInnis-Domínguez, Associate Professor of Spanish at the University of Delaware, and this channel is your go-to resource for exploring the intersection of generative AI and humanities education. We'll dive into the latest developments in large language models, or LLMs, as well as video generation tools and image generation tools, discussing their benefits, challenges, ethical considerations, and practical applications in your classes. Our goal is to examine how these powerful tools relate to humanities education, and crucially, how the humanities can shape the future of AI. Today, we're exploring NotebookLM, Google's groundbreaking AI tool that's now available in over 200 countries for free. As Stephen Johnson recently noted in Adjacent Possible, we're entering an era where humanities skills are becoming increasingly valuable in tech, and NotebookLM exemplifies this convergence perfectly. NotebookLM represents a novel approach to working with texts, combining human expertise with AI capabilities in ways previously unimaginable. The system can handle up to 50 sources with a limit of 25 million words per notebook, equivalent to about 500 novels, and works with multiple file types, including slides with charts and diagrams. What sets it apart is its sophisticated understanding of source material and smart citation system that references specific content, even within images and charts. Google's NotebookLM is poised to transform humanities education by enhancing how educators and students interact with textual materials. This AI-powered tool offers several key features that can significantly impact teaching and learning in the humanities. We'll start with its advanced document analysis and content generation. NotebookLM enables users to upload various documents, such as historical texts, literary works, and research papers, and interact with them through AI-generated summaries, facts, study guides, and more. For instance, a case study involving the 92-page transcribed diary of Mary Easton Sibley demonstrated how NotebookLM could generate comprehensive educational materials, transforming static historical documents into dynamic learning resources. It also allows for personalized learning experiences. By grounding its responses in user-provided documents, NotebookLM offers personalized insights tailored to specific materials. This approach allows for a deeper understanding of complex texts, as the AI can summarize information, explain intricate ideas, and brainstorm new connections based on the selected sources. It also allows for multimodal resource integration. NotebookLM supports a variety of source types, including Google Docs, slides, YouTube videos, web links, and MP3 audio files. This capability enables the creation of rich multimodal learning resources that cater to diverse learning preferences, thereby enhancing student engagement and comprehension. It also promotes interactive learning and critical thinking. The tool's ability to generate audio overviews and podcast format presented as conversations between AI hosts caters to auditory learners and reinforces key concepts. This feature encourages students to engage in active listening and critical analysis, fostering a deeper understanding of the material. NotebookLM also promotes efficiency in educational content creation. NotebookLM automates the generation of educational resources such as study guides, timelines, and briefing documents. This automation allows educators to dedicate more time to interactive teaching activities, promoting critical thinking and deeper discussions, rather than spending extensive time on material preparation. Finally, we should discuss ethical considerations and digital literacy. The integration of AI tools like NotebookLM into education highlights the importance of digital literacy and critical thinking. Educators are encouraged to guide students in using AI responsibly, ensuring that these tools complement traditional learning methods and do not undermine essential skills such as deep reading and independent analysis. In summary, NotebookLM offers a multifaceted approach to enhancing humanities education by providing advanced tools for document analysis, personalized learning experiences, and efficient content creation. Its capabilities support diverse learning styles and promote critical engagement with materials, positioning it as a valuable asset in modern educational settings. So let me demonstrate these features using some actual materials. First, I'll upload a syllabus and some readings as well as a YouTube video. We'll start with a class that I'll be teaching over the winter in Argentina with a group of students from the University of Delaware. The class is a short story class, 20th to 21st century Argentine short story. And obviously one of the predominant short story authors of the 20th century was Jorge Luis Borges. So we will upload 2 different stories of his, as well as the syllabus and a video about one of the works. So the first text that we're going to analyze is the Garden of Forking Paths, and then the other that I'm going to be uploading is the Library of Babel. So let's get started. So here we are on the NotebookLM homepage, and I have already, as you see here on the left, I've already created a notebook, and this one is actually full of the YouTube for the AI for the Humanities YouTube videos that I've created, and I love it because I can search all the videos and try to find connections and things that I might want to investigate in the future. So it's actually really fantastic for research as well as teaching. I will create, and this westward mushrooms is something that was there from when I started. I don't know, I haven't really even looked at it. But I'm going to create a new one for today's samples. So as you see here, you can upload all kinds of sources. They can be PDFs, so not a Word doc, as you can see here, but you can upload Google Docs and Google Slides. You can have links to websites, YouTube videos, which is really cool, and also copy text. So I'm going to upload the syllabus for my Spanish 455 class that I will be teaching next semester, or over the winter, in Argentina. And as you see here, it's already created some useful information. So the syllabus is in Spanish. But you see here, it understands Spanish, but what it does is come up with a summary in English. And this is kind of cool, but it's also a limitation that, so if you are trying to create materials in another language, right now it doesn't have the ability to produce other languages, but it does understand them. And obviously, if you do create resources, you could always translate them through another AI tool, which is something that I've done before when I've used it. And I'm sure this will be updated in the future, but for now, this works as an example. So what you can do is have, as you can see, you can have podcasts created out of this. You can have facts, study guides, table of contents. Let's see here what that looks like. I probably need one for this document. And it takes a second, you know, especially if you're going to try to create a podcast, you'll have to wait a while to do it. But this gives you an idea of some of its capabilities and also real time that it takes to be able to generate them. So here's my syllabus and table of contents. Wow, that's really neat. You know, honestly, this could be useful to students. Instead of having to read through the whole thing, they can just have the greatest hits and know where to look if they want something. So that's really neat. Well, I'm going to incorporate other sources too, now that we've played around with it a little bit. So you can see here, you can add other sources. And I'm going to add, so here's the biography of Borges that we read for the first day that we read him. I'm going to go back here and I'm just going to add website, paste URL. There you go. And it's there. What I'm also going to do is upload the readings themselves. Obviously, it's important. So this is a website again. I'll put the URL, see if it works. Yes, it did. Wonderful. And here we go. Another source. Nope, not YouTube. Website. Finally, after this, I am going to do something I wouldn't normally do, but just for the sake of giving you an example, I found a YouTube video explaining the first work, The Garden of Forking Paths. It's a complex text. All of the texts that we read in this class are pretty complex, especially right workspace. So this might be a useful tool to help understand the text itself, or something we can engage with in class and see if we agree or if we find problems. But I wanted to put it in because it is a YouTube video. We'll see if this works. And it did. So you see on the left here, we have all the sources we uploaded, and you can do several things with them. So if you look up here, you can create facts based on all the sources. So you see here, I've selected everything. You don't have to do that. If you want to just do like facts or whatever it may be about the syllabus, you can do that. If you want to, you see there's notes. And if you want to save these notes, you have to give them a title. So that way you can find them. So this is like giving a lot of interpretation. What is, some of the more difficult things. And this is from the Garden of Forking Paths specifically. So let's just put note. Okay. And it's there. So here we have the facts of the Garden of Forking Paths, and that the note from the facts, and then here we have the syllabus, the information from the syllabus. So you can find all of these in the actual notebook itself. Besides your sources, anything you create that you want to investigate further. So those are some things you can do. Other things, let's just select this, YouTube. So one thing you might want to do is ask for a summary of a YouTube video. That could be very useful. Could you summarize this video? Let's see here. Paying specific attention to the notion of time, which is very important in the story. Okay, let's see what happens. Of course, this will take a second to do, but there it is. Do you see something interesting here? So it has this video analyzes the short story through the lens of time, drawing heavily on the philosophical ideas of Leibniz. So the story presents two intertwined layers, a superficial spy thriller plot and a deeper intellectual exploration of time and possibility. What's this? It takes you to the story itself and to the spot where you could find this. So while, as I said before, it won't write in Spanish, it does know, I don't just understand it and can tell you where everything is. So this is kind of neat. So all of these are, it's giving information from the text itself as to where this can be found based on the information in the video. So this is quite interesting, even though let me see here. No, actually, as I am incorrect. Let's see. This is interesting, actually. This, I am incorrect. So because we just selected the video, this is coming from the transcript of the video, which is in Spanish, not the text itself. But it's quite interesting that it's able to transcribe it, and they could show you in the video where each of these things are coming from. So that's really interesting. Very cool. If you do analyze the text itself and you ask it the same question, so let's close this. Sorry, my cursor's not wanting to behave. Go back here and ask the same question. Let's see here. Let's see what question it suggests. Let me see. How does board faith blend the banal and the intellectual in the Garden of Forking Paths? That's an interesting question. Now here, it does, of course, provide links to the actual reading itself. So it masterfully interweaves the mundane details of a spy thriller with the profound philosophical musings on time and the possibility in this work. And then it talks about how it's achieved through 3 key strategies. So the practical applications of this. Let's say a student is reading this, and it's difficult. This is difficult. That's why we're reading it at the 400 level. Students can, if you allow them to use this tool, they can ask questions of the text itself. I wouldn't do this yet in my classes just because it's in English, but this has a lot of practical applications that you could use in other languages, in English, that is, if you're going to be reading works in English and analyzing them. Where I would use this is in all the classes where I teach in English, but it's still very interesting to use it as an example from another language. So that is something that's pretty concrete and interesting, and very useful. If you're doing translation, this could be a very useful tool as well. So, okay, we've done some exploration. If you need extra help, you can go to Notebook Guide and go back here. So you could ask for the facts, table of contents. Let's see, timeline. So this is about the Library of Babel. That's what I had selected. So the past. The library is built over 100 years ago. The governor of Yunnan abandons his post to write a novel to build a labyrinth. He is murdered before completing either, leaving behind chaotic manuscripts. Decades ago, Albert becomes fascinated by his work, theorizing the novel is the labyrinth. Present, hours before the story begins, early evening. So this is so useful because the notion of time in both of these works is very complex, and having a timeline really would help students to understand these works. So, and I'm sure that's true of many, many, many different texts. So this is so interesting and very useful, I think. So these are different things you can do, just to have an idea of the different tools, and you can give names to these notes. New node, this is a timeline of events, so it's very useful. There are other questions that you could pose to NotebookLM about the readings themselves that could be interesting, such as this. Create a comprehensive study guide analyzing how both texts explore concepts of time, infinity, and knowledge. So study guide, this is so useful too. So if you're creating materials for a class, for example, and you want to give a study guide based on all the things you're teaching in your class, you can upload your entire semester's worth of material here and create study guides based on that. I mean, this is really the fantastic tool that's a huge time saver, and it's very, very useful. Let's see what it does. It takes its time. It means it's working. So here we go. It's comparing the two, time, infinity, and knowledge in these two stories. So it starts with time, infinity, knowledge, connections and contrasts, conclusion. And it's not a ton of information because we gave it a specific guiding question about what we wanted it to do. And you could obviously tailor this to, you can say, create a general study guide about the two works. Let's see what happens. Not so, I'm curious to see what a more, I guess, open type of request will produce. There we go. This is longer, not so genre, narrative structure, characters and motivation, key themes and concepts, style and language. And so that's from the first work, from the Garden of Forking Paths, and then the Library of Babel. Setting an atmosphere, narrator and perspective. And you see that this is, and then comparing and contrasting the works. This is really useful and could be something you could use to create things for your classes. And if you're doing it in another language, you have this and you can translate it. So it just depends on what you would like to do. I mean, compared with things like ChatGPT and LLMs, you can do this with those texts, but they don't like when you upload multiple sources. So that's what makes NotebookLM kind of unique, is that you can have up to 50 different things that you are analyzing all at one time or incorporating into a document. Whereas with the other LLMs, it's one work at a time, or if you want, you could copy and paste multiple things together and then you could do it. But that takes a lot of time. Whereas uploading materials for a class, this is just so much easier. It's fantastic. I really like it. So in the break, I just went back and asked the NotebookLM to translate, to see if it can actually now do translations into other languages. And it translated the facts that we created into Spanish. So it is able to do this. And if you just select a note and you say, for example, a simple question, ¿Cómo se llama el protagonista de este cuento? This means, can you tell me the name of the protagonist of this story? I want to see what it does as a response. In the past, this is the issue. You ask it in Spanish, it still responds in English. But if you ask it to translate something, and you have to tell it specifically which note you want it to translate, it will. So it does do the translation work for you. And this is a new feature since I last played with this. So that's good. That's actually very useful. I wish it would answer right away in Spanish. If I speak to it in Spanish, it would, it would be really nice to have it speak back in Spanish. But this is still pretty great. This is an advancement, so I'm happy with that. So one other feature that is really cool that we haven't seen yet is the ability to create a podcast based on the different texts that we have here. So let's see here. We can add a note, or let's go to the notebook guide. Here we go. So here you see on the right, it says deep dive conversation. 2 hosts. This is definitely English only. It won't be done in another language, but it still could be useful. So I guess what I'll say is, can the 2 hosts give a general overview of the notion of time in the 2 stories? Let's see what happens with references to Borges' life. Okay, let's see what happens. So this may take a few moments. I won't make you wait. So we're back, and as you see, the audio overview has completed uploading. It didn't do the specific chat that I'd asked, but I think it just does an audio overview of the sources that you select, and I had the text there. So let's listen to it. And I know it might sound a little cheesy, the banter between the 2 co-hosts, but let's listen to the content and see what we think of that.
All right, so are you ready to dive deep? You guys sent in some really cool sources about Jorge Luis Borges, the Garden of Forking Paths.
Yeah.
And wow, this story is wild. A Chinese spy working for Germany in the middle of World War I.
Now that's a mix you don't see every day.
Right. And that's what we're here for, to go beyond just the plot and really unpack all the layers in this story, especially all those mind-bending ideas Borges has about time and multiple universes.
Almost like he's bending reality itself,
It really is. One of the YouTube videos we got actually tackles the whole spy plot first, almost like an old school thriller.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got Yutsun. He's our spy on the run,
Okay.
trying to get this crucial military info to his German contacts.
Right.
But Captain Madden is hot on his trail.
Oh, so there's a time crunch.
Totally. And get this, the video points out that Yutsun's plan involves killing a guy named Albert.
What? Just to, why?
To signal the location of a British artillery park to the Germans.
Oh, that's intense.
It is, right. The video even compares the story's style to John Huston's The 39 Steps.
Huh, I can see that. Kind of fast-paced and cinematic.
Exactly. But then Borges, he just throws this curveball and takes us down a totally different path.
So there's more to it than just the spy stuff.
Way more. The video really highlights this point, saying under all the espionage and intrigue, there's this whole other layer that's like deeply intellectual.
So this is really interesting. The facts is talking about the Garden of Forking Paths to start, and the details are correct. It's engaging. And it does bring in the video though too. It's not just limiting itself to the sources I selected, which are the biography and the 2 works itself. So I think when it's doing the audio overview, it does all the sources that you have. But this is really neat. Now let's see if it gets into the second text. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here.
Huge ripple effects.
So much at stake.
Right. And Borges captures that feeling perfectly, that sense of like precariousness, that the world could have gone in a totally different direction. Like if just one thing had changed.
Yeah, it's almost like history itself is this garden of forking paths, you know?
Totally. And it's not just about the big decisions like the ones made by generals or politicians.
Right.
Borges shows us how the choices made by ordinary people, everyday people, can also have a huge impact.
Like Yud-Sun. His decisions ultimately.
That's what makes life interesting.
I love that. It's not just about the destination, it's about how you get there.
Exactly.
You know, you mentioned the Library of Babel earlier and how it kind of relates to all this with the infinity and interconnectedness.
Oh, absolutely. The Library of Babel. It's like a companion piece to the Garden of Forking Paths in a way.
So instead of paths, we have books.
Right. Imagine a universe that's just this massive library. Every book ever written and every book that could ever be written.
Every possible story.
Every combination of letters, every idea, every scientific theory, every philosophical treatise, it's all there on these endless shelves. Just imagine.
Whoa, that's a lot to take in.
I know, right? It's almost overwhelming. And the characters in the story, they're desperately searching for meaning, for order in all this chaos.
So yes, it does bring in the Library of Babel as well. And I like how it's comparing it to the other texts. Like that's really kind of neat. So, I mean, this is a very useful tool, I think, in the class if you are trying to cater to different learners. So some are visual, some prefer to read, and others are auditory learners. And if you can create this type of a resource that's engaging, that talks about some of the important questions of the work in a way that it's easy to follow, you know, and it is pretty easy to follow. I think this could be so useful. Oh, I only wish it were in Spanish. I know it only is available in English for right now, but even so, this is just a very useful tool. So we've really been talking about the use of all these different capabilities of NotebookLM for classes. But just think about the possibilities with research. As I said before, you can upload up to 50 different sources per notebook. That means that you could have multiple notebooks with up to 50 sources each. So depending on the project, let's say you're working on an article and say you have 30 sources, you can upload them all into one and then search them. So let's say you want to find the discussion of a specific word in the text. You can look through all the different sources, see if it's discussed, like if that's a key term for your own analysis. Or if you want to do that in the primary text, if you're looking at more than one, you can count the number of uses of a specific word throughout the different texts. That's so cool. That's just one application. You could also summarize all of your sources. So let's say in a typical LLM, let's say ChatGPT, let's just say Google Gemini, not LLM, not NotebookLM. You can upload one attachment at a time and it will give you a summary. It will do that for you too. But NotebookLM allows you to upload up to 50. And then you could just say, please summarize these texts. And it will give you a summary for all of them. So that's really cool. Very useful. And that way, if you're trying to narrow down sources for something that you're working on, you can see, okay, well, this summary here, I don't think that that's getting into something that I will be discussing. So I really don't need to spend a lot of time with that one. So it's a huge time saver. It's a huge time saver too in other ways. So going back to the classroom, you can use it to also come up with questions. So you come up with a study guide, you know, the table of contents, timeline, which is just so useful to understand works, but also there's a briefing doc that could also be very useful that we haven't explored yet. Give it a second to respond. While we wait, one thing that I would do with this, so this is a briefing doc. This is similar, analyzes several sources to examine the central themes and key ideas present in these stories. So I guess it's including all of the different things that I've uploaded. So this is similar to having a summary. Briefing doc is a summary. So that's another way you could look at it. But other than that, I mean, you could select sources and say, okay, help me come up with comprehension questions about this work, or help me come up with discussion questions. You can do this just like you could do it in an LLM. You could do it here, but you could do it from multiple sources at a time. So that's really kind of neat. Let's say so for my 455 class in Argentina, because it's a condensed period of a month that students are getting a whole semester worth of a class, we're doing multiple readings in one day. And to come up with multiple questions and maybe intertwine them in some way, that could be very useful and make for a more meaningful class session. So that's something you could do too. I still would prefer to use LLMs to come up with maybe some more exciting in-class activities. I feel like ChatGPT might be a little bit better at coming up with some really neat, innovative ideas for discussion. You know, using social media, having discussion, verbal discussion with. You can do this now with multiple LLMs, with ChatGPT, with Gemini, with Copilot as well. So this is just one more tool in your arsenal for coming up with materials for class and also for your own research. I highly recommend it. It's free. It may not be free forever. Enjoy it while it is. Take advantage of it and tell your friends about it. So that's it for today. We've explored today how NotebookLM can transform humanities education by enhancing document analysis, generating customized learning materials, and creating engaging audio content. From processing complex texts to generating insightful study materials in multiple languages, this tool offers powerful capabilities for teaching and research. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to AI for the Humanities, and hit the notifications bell to stay updated on the latest AI tools for humanities education.
Welcome to the age of words colliding human minds and circuits aligning 50 sources stacked and ready 25 million words. It's getting heady. Citations sharp like shards of glass. AI's here, but it's learning fast. From Borges labyrinths to digital spheres, making connections where none appeared. It's not just text, it's context. It's not just answers, it's insights next. The library's alive, the past rewinds. NotebookLM, your hands redesigns. And it's infinite pages, infinite thought, synthesizing dreams we never caught. From the syllabus to the labyrinth, we're rewriting what it all means. Slides and charts, they're reading the room. Podcast voices in the audio bloom. Philosophers nodding in digital halls. Infinity echoing through it all. Questions asked, the answers flow. Sighted, grounded, ready to go. The humanities have their renaissance, where AI's tools meet human response. It's not just data, it's stories untold. It's a future waiting, both new and old. From labyrinth paths to knowledge streams. NotebookLM, we're chasing dreams. And it's infinite pages, infinite thought, synthesizing dreams we never caught. From the syllabus to the labyrinth, we're rewriting what it all means. Let's upload our lives, let's see what it finds. The gaps between, the ties that bind. Notebook wisdom, the chart, the unknown. Every answer leads us home. Welcome to the future, the present's tense. NotebookLM makes it make sense. In Borges' library we've always been. Now we're part of the infinite spin. And it's infinite pages, infinite thought, synthesizing dreams we never